have a moment? Before we get really into it, I just want to say, for every Philadelphia sports fan in the history of Philadelphia fandom, fuck thoracic outlet syndrome. Where did this even come from? Where did thoracic outlet syndrome come from? And why is it that I've only ever heard of it in relation to Philadelphia athletes? Oh, the Sixers. Sixers work out a trade with the Boston Celtics. They're going to get the number 1 overall pick. Presumptive number 1 overall pick, Markelle Fultz, is going to be the guy. Exactly what the Sixers needed. Was going to make a hell of a backcourt with Ben Simmons. Was going to play off Joel Embiid really well. Everything looked great. We love Markelle Fultz. Then Markelle Fultz kind of forgot how to shoot a basketball. All of a sudden, his mechanics are messed up. He definitely crashed a bike. Definitely crashed a bike, right? He had to have crashed a bike. Can we all agree that he probably crashed a BMX bike after telling the Sixers he didn't have them anymore? Can we also talk about the fact that he did a JBL speaker commercial where he was riding a bike after telling the Sixers they got rid of all his... We can probably agree Markelle Fultz maybe fell off a bike at some point, injured his shoulder. Yeah, can we agree? Maybe? Okay. But we're not saying that. It's just conjecture. We turn the head. It's just conjecture. Internet conjecture, we'll call it. But Markelle Fultz, mechanics are junked up. We hear it's thoracic outlet syndrome, which none of us had ever heard of it, right? And then you get Wheeler. Wheeler has this blood clot in his shoulder. Thank God they found it, right? We've talked about the fact that the Nationals doctors apparently were the ones who found it. The Phillies doctors were on top of it, but the symptoms changed. Nationals doctors caught it. They caught the blood clot. They did the procedure to break it up. It sounds like there's going to have to be another surgery, and the recovery time is 6 to 8 months. And obviously, on a human level, we care about Zack Wheeler. We want to make sure Zack Wheeler's okay. He has a young family. Obviously, Zack Wheeler, the human being, and him as a husband and a dad, that is more important than Zack Wheeler, the ace pitcher, the absolute stud pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. And while it sucks to lose him, at least it's not, I can't say it's not a career-threatening thing, because it could be. Like, in theory, depending on how recovery goes, like, hopefully we have not seen the last of Zack Wheeler. But it's not like a freak injury, like he went out and he like broke his ankle sliding into a base. It's not like he took a comebacker off the pitching hand or something and like fractured 2 fingers or something and like he's out for that. No, this is like something that you just can't control. And so it seems like he's been given a pretty decent bill of health otherwise. And you got to think the guy's a gamer. You're hoping that he's going to be back at some point next season and that he comes back and he looks just like the same guy he was before he left, and everybody's happy. But that could have been the kind of thing that would destroy a team, derail a team, kill the confidence of a team. And all of a sudden, the Phillies have kind of put together a little run here where you start to think to yourself, all right, things might be trending the right direction. And I want to go to something that I talked about last year. I should have the clip, and I don't have the clip pulled out. But Phillies are about to embark on a 3-game set with the Mets, and then they've got a 4-game set at home against the Braves. And the Braves series, for all intents and purposes, doesn't matter. Braves are 12 games under 500 as of recording. It doesn't matter. The Mets right now are 7 games back of the Phillies. Even if the Phillies were to get swept, they would still be 4 games up with 20-something games to play. It's fine. To this point, your team, your town, your Philadelphia Phillies have played 130 games, so they would have, 29 games left with a 4-game lead, even in a worst-case scenario where they lose via a sweep at Citi Field. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm pretty confident in the Phillies' ability. And you also look at the fact that the Mets are playing 500 baseball over the last 10 games. Phillies are 7-3 over the last 10 games. Phillies are, the second hottest team in the National League, only behind the Cubs, who are 8-2 in their last 10. All of a sudden, you start to feel a little bit better about the Phillies. Now, all of this comes with the massive caveat. All of it comes with the massive outlier negative news in all of this, which is that Zack Wheeler is out for the season. If you could take a little positive of Wheeler being ruled out for the season, it's not like it's hanging out there, right? Remember when they initially did the procedure, and when the blood clot was initially found, people are like, all right, well, you don't know. Like maybe they're able to get the blood clot out, and he can take some blood thinners, which you're not allowed to play on in baseball. Maybe he could take some blood thinners, and maybe he could be back for the NLCS. And wouldn't that be something? No. We care about the human being. This isn't something to screw around with. It's not a broken finger. It's a blood clot. And you want to make sure that there's no returning or recurring blood clot issues. So, no. The fact that he is now officially out means that Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez and Aaron Nola and Jesus Luzardo and even Saijuan Walker, they all know what their marching orders are. They know what their assignments are. Sanchez, keep being a bona fide number one guy. Maybe you don't have to be the ace that Wheeler is. Just be a really great player like you've been now for a couple of seasons at least. At the very least, if you want to say, like, hey, last season was really him kind of coming onto the scene. This season is a continuation. Awesome. So you're looking at two legitimately awesome seasons out of Christopher Sanchez. Suarez, we have seen some great moments out of. We've seen a little bit of streakiness out of. But for the most part, Suarez, you can feel pretty damn good about him. And you also know he can perform in the postseason. Nola is truly a wild card. There is part of me that just wants to believe that the baseball gods are going to smile on the Phillies. And Aaron Nola, who has been inconsistent as all hell, a guy who can throw ace stuff, Cy Young stuff for 4 innings, falls apart in the 5th inning, falls apart in the 4th inning, gives up a few home runs, and all of a sudden it's a five-run deficit. Maybe the Phillies will get a little bit of lady luck smiling on them going into the playoffs, and Aaron Nola will at least be able to be a competent number 2, number 3 pitcher. Maybe he's the number 2 guy. He breaks up the lefties and Sanchez and Suarez. Maybe. Luzardo. What's Luzardo going to be? No one really knows. Luzardo has had a very up and down season. There were moments, right, early in the season, we thought he looked like he could be a Cy Young candidate. Then there were the concerns about was he tipping pitches. It's been a bit of a mess with him. Saijuan Walker. Remember, there was a real short run in the season, right, where Taijuan Walker started pitching well. We started jokingly calling him Saijuan Walker. They could put together a competent rotation that has at least 2 studs in it with Sanchez and Suarez. And as long as you can get competent pitching out of Aaron Nola, keep the opposition to 4 runs or less, in a worst-case scenario, 5 runs or less throughout the rest of the regular season and into the postseason, this lineup should be able to score you the 4, 5, maybe even 6 runs you'll need to win some Aaron Nola starts. It could happen. Now, the bats could also go dead silent like they have in multiple postseasons in the not-too-distant past. But if things go well, if things go even remotely the way that you would expect them to, things should be okay with the Phillies rotation. Then we have to look at the lineup. And remember, like, Real Muto's playing some of the best baseball I think he ever has played in a Phillies uniform. I'm not even saying, like, over the last 2 years where there have been dips in production and, like, wow, this is a totally different-looking guy. No, like, I'd make the argument right now, Real Muto's playing some of the most clutch baseball he's played as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. You have guys like Schwarber and Harper that you know you can rely on, and then things get a little bit dicey. If Trey Turner can be like an average player, you're in good shape. If Nick Castellanos and Kepler and Bader can somehow work things out together in this weird kind of platoon that they're doing, cool. Be average. If Stott can play well, great. Be average. That should be enough to get this team deep into the postseason. Will it be enough to get a World Series appearance without Zack Wheeler? Will it be enough to win a World Series without Zack Wheeler? I don't know. But I will just kind of point back to a thing that happened not that long ago. We all know where this is going. The Philadelphia Eagles, the season that they won Super Bowl 52, they were humming along. And then a terrible knee injury happens to Carson Wentz against the Rams. Everybody thinks the season's over. Nick Foles, who had been kind of cast aside as a backup, Foles comes in, leads the Eagles on an absolutely improbable run, outduels Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Eagles win the first Super Bowl in the history of the franchise. We look back on that team and we say, that was awesome. What a great ride. Kind of wild ride, insane ride, certainly unexpected after Wentz went down. I'm not saying that the Phillies have the same kind of trajectory here. I'm not saying that Christopher Sanchez is going to be able to step in and be Zack Wheeler again, and obviously there are a lot more moving parts with a baseball team. And that rotation, having to be consistent, is significantly different than just having to have your quarterback, one player, be sensational or consistent. I mean, if you have great starts out of Sanchez and Suarez, but then you can't get any other good starts out of other pitchers, you might have a pretty short postseason run, or ultimately it might be the thing that costs you the World Series. If the lineup doesn't hit, it's a totally different issue.